Hi, and welcome once again to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris Gorski.
Today is September 27th, and today we're going to hear part 2 of the article that we started yesterday entitled Testing Gets Personal.
So today we have a really interesting article. I was thinking, what do I want to talk about here? Then I just thought, why don't I just take this type of test we're going to talk about today and see how it turns out? And I was struck by how accurate the test was for me. I was creepy accurate. And so I decided to rope in. I decided to include my colleagues. And these are more kind of blue-collar guys, and they were not interested at first. And then I said, come on, help me out here. I'm doing this for the lesson today. And so they did it, and they were very reticent. They were very arm's length with the results, and they weren't willing to dive in. And so I dove in for them, and I was like, this is you. It's so accurate. It's so creepy. And so then I sent it to Karen, and then Karen and I,
came out very similar.
We had the exact same rare personality type, exceptionally rare. This is the rarest personality type. Karen and I are what's called an INFJ, which we will explain in some more detail later. We'll also teach you how to take this personality so you can look at it yourself. I thought this was really funny.
That's right. If you have not looked at this very much before, you might find your results eye-opening. Okay, here is our first paragraph. A personality test that may be familiar to people is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI. Though many have heard of the MBTI and may even know their respective type, few know the story behind this 100-plus-year-old theory.
The MBTI was developed by Catherine Cook Briggs and her daughter, Isabel Briggs Myers. Briggs began researching personality types in the 1910s and developed a typology based on 4 dispositions. She later expanded her work based on theories by psychoanalyst Carl Jung, especially those detailed in his 1921 book, Psychological Types.
During World War II, Briggs and her daughter created the first version of the Myers-Briggs personality test. The initial aim of the assessment was to help women entering the workforce identify jobs that suited their personality preferences. The first publication of the test was titled the Briggs-Myers Type Indicator Handbook, and it wasn't until a decade later that the guide was republished under the name we know today, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator.
The MBTI draws on Jung's theory that people's experiences can be divided into 4 psychological functions. The Myers-Briggs test identifies these 4 categories as introversion, extroversion, sensing, intuition, thinking, feeling, and judging, perceiving. Everyone has a dominant quality from each category, resulting in 16 possible personality types determined by the combinations of these traits. The types are presented by acronyms for the dominant traits a person possesses. This means that someone that is ENTJ tends towards extroversion, E, intuition, N, thinking, T, and judgment, J, whereas an ISFP person leans towards introversion, I, sensing, S, feeling, F, and perception, P. If you're interested in discovering your type, there are countless online tests that can provide results within minutes. And let me tell you how Karen and I took this test. So you could even take this right after you finish the program, or maybe even before and kind of have new insight. So I went to the website 16 Personalities, that's plural, 16 the numbers, and then personalities, don't forget, drop the Y, add IES. Take that quiz. It takes like 10 minutes. And then I took the 4 letters I got. So Karen and I were INFJ, and I went to a website called Personality Max, and I typed in those 4 letters. So Personality Max, one word, INFJ, and it gave this long, detailed explanation. It might be a little challenging for some people, but man, was it accurate. It was so thorough and detailed, and I was blown away by how well this website pegged me. It scared me almost.
And people are often willing to do something very tiring when it's all about them.
Yeah, I did recognize. I was like, this is very much an exercise for my ego. I did recognize that.
Everybody does
I was
that.
aware of this.
All right, let's go back to the beginning. A personality test that may be familiar to people is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI. And I think Chris has mainly explained already what it involves. So Myers-Briggs are names. Type means the kind of person you are. Indicator means it shows what kind of person you are. At least that's the theory. And a lot of people are familiar with it. They know about it. I have noticed that on dating sites, they will often use this.
Yeah, that is a new thing, isn't it? I have never noticed that, but I've been married a long time, so my
I troll them for fun.
Yeah, my familiarity with dating sites is not there, but I bet a sociologist would just love dating sites.
Get a lot of information on different kinds of people. Okay, so this is a pretty well-known test that you can take to find out about your personality type, or at least one take on your personality type. Though many have heard of the MBTI and may even know their respective type, few know the story behind this 100-plus-year-old theory. So you may know your initials that Chris just gave. I don't remember my own. Honestly, I don't really put too much stock in it. I feel I know myself well enough. I don't have to go to a test to get that information. But a lot of people memorize their type, and they use that sort of as a conversation starter with people. They say, well, I'm this type. What type are you?
Is this the intellectual version of the horoscope?
Sort of.
Like what's
maybe.
your sign? It's I'm an INFJ, and you're like, I'm an Aries. Is that?
And it gives more information than a horoscope, I would say.
It feels like the intellectual equivalent of a horoscope. I understand this. But maybe for me, maybe why I was so enamored, I really like this test because I had no insight into this. I am a very reflective person, so I examine my own personality, but I had never thought to take a personality test, and maybe it was shocking to see my own years of self-reflecting could have been just mitigated by taking this dumb test and being spoon-fed the answers.
I don't think so, because you'd still have to make sure that what they wrote made sense. So you'd still have to introspect.
Yeah, this is true. My one colleague who was reticent, he was not excited to take this test.
Reluctant.
He was reluctant to take this test. He saw that his type was the adventurer, and he immediately dismissed it. That's garbage. This is nonsense. He wouldn't read into it. I had to do the work for him and highlight, said, this is you. This is you. Tell me when this is not true.
You're in Taiwan. That's an adventure.
So it's right. It's like you left home.
Yeah.
And but he wasn't willing to hear it. I had to kind of show him and do the heavy lifting for him. And if this were not for today's lesson, I probably wouldn't have done it.
And he slowly saw the light?
I think he's still pushing back. He doesn't want to accept it. This is also something you need to be willing to be open to being said, this is what we found. In fact, this person, before he took his MBTI, said, should I take this test how I want to be or as I am? And I said, be intellectually honest with yourself.
Otherwise it's worthless.
That's right. Why are you taking this if you can't be honest about yourself? You're not a slave to this. You can always see something and work on it. There's nothing wrong with that.
And you don't have to say, oh, this is a bunch of garbage. You can just say, oh, I'll give it some thought.
That's right.
That's good enough. Okay, second paragraph.
The MBTI was developed by Catherine Cook Briggs and her daughter, Isabel Briggs Myers. Let me say, I assumed these two people were two old white guys. I was delighted to learn this.
They're female and mother-daughter.
Briggs began researching personality types in the 1910s and developed a typology based on 4 dispositions.
Now, I have to say that this kind of thing turns up really often now in modern self-help books. They'll say, are you a happy type? Are you a needs more rest type? Or whatever it is. They just come up with categories all over the places. This is just really popular these days.
So a disposition basically means a personality. What type of person are you? Let's continue. She later expanded her work based on theories by psychoanalyst Carl Jung, especially those detailed in his 1921 book, Psychological Types.
If you're at all interested in psychology, I recommend that you look into the work of Carl Jung. He wrote a lot of really interesting, worthwhile stuff.
Now, you speak German, and so did Carl. I'd like to ask if you could say his name really clearly, because growing up, I'm going to be honest, from my family background, nobody ever said this guy's name. So when I first heard of him, I called him Carl Jung and promptly got laughed at in like psychology class or whatever. So do us a favor, say this accurately for us.
Carl Jung.
There we go.
Carl Jung.
Stop it, listen, and say it again. You got an expert here, and here's a person you can really trust here with this one.
Okay, paragraph 3. During World War II, Briggs and her daughter created the first version of the Myers-Briggs personality test. Okay, that's kind of old information. We already found out in the second paragraph that this mother-daughter team developed it. The initial aim of the assessment was to help women entering the workforce identify jobs that suited their personality preferences.
Wow, this is fascinating. So when World War II started, there was a massive worldwide mobilization of all available fighting age men. They were all pushed to the war. This is how big World War II was. That meant who was left to make the bombs? Who was there to make the jeeps, the tanks, the planes? Women were needed. And so women were taken out of their traditional role and they were entering the workforce. But, of course, men couldn't just trust women to do certain things. They didn't believe that women could even handle these kind of jobs. So, okay, we need to make this scientific. Women take these tests, and based upon whatever this test is, you get put into this kind of job. Guys could just pick whatever job they want, basically. A woman had to take her test, and she got placed there by men.
Even my mother used to work. And that was a big deal because she was a lifetime housewife and mother. And she told me later that my dad actually said, I want you to stay at home. You take care of the kids, you take care of the household things. And she agreed. But before then, she was actually working for the war effort. What happened was she was painting a certain kind of substance on belts used in the war effort, and she was allergic. So she had a terrible reaction to it. So that's why she had to quit her job.
I understand. Yeah, so women were mobilized to do all sorts of things. In fact, if you're interested in art history or even propaganda posters, let's be honest, you can look up, war effort posters, World War II. You can search these, and you'll see some really famous, incredible art from World War II, especially on the U.S. side. And there was this famous woman known as Rosie the Riveter, and she's this blue suit-wearing woman. I believe she has a red skull cap. She has a bandana on her head, and she's got big bulging bicep, a big muscle on her arm saying, we can do it. It's a very iconic piece of art. And my sister actually has a really big poster of it in her house. She's a military family, so she's very proud of Rosie the Riveter. And my sister and I differ on a lot of things politically. We both agree this is a fantastic piece of art.
You have to say, though, that this was really a common theme in communist countries, in the former Soviet Union, and in China for many years. They often had similar things.
You are exactly right. That is a point I think I'll bring up to her and promptly get yelled at for.
But it's the truth.
It's true. It's true. That's right. The message is very socialistic. I agree.
Okay. The first publication of the test was titled the Briggs-Myers Type Indicator Handbook, and it wasn't until a decade later that the guide was republished under the name we know today, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. And this is just kind of details about it. It doesn't give us a lot of new information, but it just tells you how we got to the name we use today.
I personally like this little piece of trivia. This is the kind of information I like very much.
Okay.
So the Briggs-Myers Type Indicator. So that was the first name. First it was BM. And now we have Myers-Briggs. It makes me want to know why was it changed. I want to know more. I want to dig this up.
I think there is information on the internet. You have to check, but I've forgotten. I think I read it and forgot it. But I can understand people not wanting to say BM.
When I said BM, I was like, okay, maybe that, but...
Okay, just so you know, BM is a way that we refer to a bowel movement, and that's going poop.
Poo-poo, that's right. So the poo-poo test.
Wait a minute, I got to go take a BM.
Yeah, we're real highbrow here at Ivy. Okay, before we get into our final paragraph, I want to remind everybody, go to 16 Personalities. Get your 4 letters. Karen and I again are INFJ. Go to Personality Max, that's one word, and type in your 4 letters and read about yourself. This next paragraph is really going to explain it well. And one more thing before we get into there, I want to discuss my other colleague that I gave this to.
Yeah.
So I promised them I wouldn't say names, and I'm going to try to not use pronouns here. I had a colleague take the test.
Yeah.
This person was very fascinated by my results and wanted to take the test themselves. So I sent them the quiz. They said, this is some real BS. They were mad about the results. So I said, okay, well, we'll take it again later. Maybe you're too busy at work. Do it on the MRT on the way home.
Yeah.
And they texted me around 11:30 last night and said, I got the same results. I hate this so much.
The same results as you?
No. Same results they got the first time. So
time.
they took the test again, went in very intellectually honest, slowed down, considered the answers, and got the exact same results, which made me just laugh. Just, what are you fighting here? What is wrong with it?
That's who you are.
And then I read the personality. I said, this is you. Look at this. You are a person that loves going out, but you need dedicated individual private time to recharge. That's you. That's how you explain every Saturday night to me.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a real normal way to be.
And you're a person that is very extroverted, but is very caring and listening. You have a lot of feeling and emotion, and you're a person that cares getting work done. You and I are always the last two people out of this building.
There you go.
You are the last. You and I are always the last two teachers out of this building because we need to finish the work. We will not let it hang until tomorrow or never finish it. That is not us.
So he should have been pretty happy. I mean,
this person should have been very happy. I'll keep working on this person.
Okay, our last paragraph.
All right, our final
which is
paragraph.
Somewhat long.
The MBTI draws on Jung's theory that people's experiences can be divided into 4 psychological functions.
Okay, so that's just getting us ready to start counting, start listening for these 4 different psychological aspects of a human personality.
This is tricky. Get ready with some pencils to draw little brackets and parentheses. The Myers-Briggs test identifies these 4 categories as introversion, extroversion, sensing, intuition, thinking, feeling, and judging, perceiving.
And they have a slash between each group of 2 things. So that means it's these 2 factors which are usually viewed as being on opposite poles.
Okay, so introversion, extroversion's pretty easy. We know an extrovert is an outgoing personality. An introvert prefers less outgoing events. They are a little bit more willing to be by themselves. They're happy to be by themselves.
One thing to be really clear on is introversion does not mean shyness.
That's right.
It's totally different things. If you are shy, you're uncomfortable in a situation, you feel that you don't know how to behave in an appropriate way. That's shyness. But often, introverts are not shy.
They just prefer to be by themselves.
Or one-to-one.
Or value. That's right. Small group.
Yeah. So very often, when I go on a hike or something, I'd rather be hiking with just one person. I've gone in a big group, but you can't really talk with everybody in the group. I like it one-to-ones. It's more satisfying for me.
When's the last time you went to a very big, loud thumping club?
Can't remember.
That's right. So an extroverted person would do this regularly. When I was 20 and dating, yes, I would go do that, but it's not what I preferred.
Yeah.
Our next 2 categories is sensing and intuition. Okay, so sensing, this means you are more interested in the tangible details. You want real solutions. You want to know what's surrounding you.
Right, you're more practical.
When we have intuition, you are a person that values the future and planning, what's going ahead. You're always thinking about, how do I accomplish my goal?
And next is thinking, which is more intellectual, using your brain and logic, and feeling, using empathy to try and understand other people in the world.
You value harmony.
Harmony. And?
Lastly, we have judging and perceiving. And these 2 could be a little tricky here. So I'll do judging. So judging sounds like the word judgmental or judging. This doesn't mean that you are looking down on people or criticizing them. Instead, this is how a person deals with their day-to-day tasks and activities. So a person that is high in judging, like Karen and I, we must complete our day's work before we enjoy me time. And I will say this is me to a T. I will not pick up and play a video game or do some artistic project I want to do until everything else is done. It must be done, and I will not touch it before. That is just how I'm built.
So judging is about structure and following rules to come to a more formal kind of decision. But perceiving, on the other hand, is when you're kind of using your feelings and not making so many plans. And the advantage of being more perceiving is you are often better at change. You adapt better to change.
That's right. You will be less stressed when things suddenly change.
And don't follow the plan.
Let's continue to our next sentence. Everyone has a dominant quality from each category, resulting in 16 possible personality types determined by the combinations of these traits.
And they're going to give us an example in the next couple sentences.
The types are presented by acronyms, that's some letters, for the dominant traits a person possesses.
And we'll keep going because they're going to give you a letter, and each letter stands for one of these qualities that we've just explained. We explained it kind of fast, but you can go online and check if you're really interested.
This means that someone that is ENTJ tends towards extroversion E, intuition N, thinking T, and judgment J, whereas an ISFP person leans towards introversion I, sensing S, feeling F, and perception P.
Okay, let's just keep going because you can look up all of these online, especially once you've taken the test and you learn what your type is, then you'll kind of get it more.
If you're interested in discovering your type, there are countless online tests that can provide results within minutes, which we discussed. And the last thing before we get to our question is, after you take your test and you understand your personality, now we can do the fun stuff. You type your 4 personality traits into your favorite search engine, and then type in your favorite media property, The Simpsons, Friends, Lord of the Rings, Marvel, and they will tell you these characters that match your types because when they're written, they have to fit certain roles. For example, Karen and I fit in line with Lisa Simpson, who is a very moralistic person. She has strong morals. She can't be compromised easily. She feels and believes very strongly. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Oprah Winfrey are other people like this. Obama and Bono, these famous celebrities that are really well known for strong morals. Captain America, Captain Picard of Star Trek fame. Obi-Wan Kenobi, the famous Jedi teacher. Yoda, the most famous Jedi teacher from Star Wars.
But my very favorite is Abraham Lincoln, who is my personal hero.
That's right. What a great strong personality. His morals could not be compromised. He will give you different reasons for why he's doing what he's doing, but really, he's going to see his mission through the end, even if it costs him his life.
And it did. Okay, so we're going to go on to our questions. Number 1, which word in the day 1 passage means the act or state of depending on something or someone too much? And we have a short answer for this. The answer is
over-reliance. Don't forget we have 2 R's here, over and reliance. It's one word. Number 2, which of the following statements are not correct?
And it says that you can pick more than one answer. And in fact, there are 2 correct answers. The first correct answer is B. Catherine Cook Briggs cooperated with Carl Jung to develop the MBTI. And the second correct answer is early personality tests had no practical applications outside entertainment. So those are the 2 sentences that are the correct answers because they are not correct. And question number 3, based on the Myers-Briggs test, if Gina is tested as an ESTJ person, she is prone to be...
The first answer is extroverted. The second answer, S, is sensing. T is thinking, and J is judging. You can just look at the article and fill those in. I doubt you remember that offhand.
But have fun with the test, see what you get, and we will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.